Hello everyone and welcome back to the video. So I don't usually post videos on Saturday, but I felt like I had to make a reaction or a response video to something that Nili had posted on his own channel. Nili's video is titled, "Is Hera serious with this one?" Red Bull qualifier highlight. So just to give some context before I hop in and kind of play the video while giving my own commentary on the situation. This basically happened in one weekend when we were, casting a bunch of games together. It was like a 6 or 7 hour day. So quite a long day. And this video is just a few clips that Nili had edited and thrown into a video on YouTube. And yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and play it, and I'll give you guys my commentary throughout it all.
More spearmen in production for Kingston.
Yeah, maybe at this point you just go pikemen. It's not the place you want to be though. I often say on the channel, I believe that knights counter pikemen in early castlage, and I've got the stats and the arguments to back it up as well. So I think making pikemen so early is really not the position you want to be in for Kingston. Love the fact that we're seeing an early monastery from Valus, something that's very underrated. Picking up those relics, extremely important.
When are we checking those facts and stats? Your so-called facts.
Yeah. So right off the bat, we see that Nili immediately made a face, and basically a face implying that I'm making a ridiculous statement. And he had to change the scene on his OBS to actually make that face. So it's completely intentional, obviously. And I hadn't known he was doing any of this live because I was just talking to him. I don't actually see what he's up to, but I can tell from his tone that he was poking at the statement. And so I went ahead and elaborated a little bit on what it was and what I meant by it. But before I continue, I just want to point out that Nili said, "What are my so-called facts?" I actually never used the word facts. I used stats from my own games and some of the other top player games. And I use arguments because I think that's all you have when it comes to a point that's as nuanced as this. I can't just say what I think and call it a fact. I just say I've got some stats and I've got an argument and I'm making a statement from that and I'm going to attempt to back it up. And I later say, I wish someone would come and try to prove me wrong because I'd love to have a discussion around this. And anyone who knows me knows that I like to go into deep topics around Age of Empires. I like to make bold statements like that to captivate the listener and to make them really think. Age of Empires 2 has been out for a long time. If I say, pikes are counter unit to knights, that's kind of, a very intuitive statement. But by making a counterintuitive statement and one as bold as the one I made, I'm making everyone who hears it immediately stop and think, and then I can go ahead and explain what I meant so that we can have a very thoughtful discussion around it. And I think that's what pushes the game forward, and that's what kind of brings out the optimal play by thinking about what may seem at first counterintuitive and then coming to an actual conclusion based on, like I said, stats and some arguments. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the video here. Knights countering pikes? Yeah, let's talk about it. So basically, knights win the one-on-one, so having one-on-one, knights will win. Knights are also more mobile, so you get to dictate the pace of the game. Knights also do much better against buildings and against villagers, so raiding and breaking buildings is much more powerful, much more viable. And you can also heal the knights, so taking fights and running back to heal is a very viable option. Healing pikes is not that efficient because if you're low and running away, the knights can snipe them. So knights do counter pikes, and I'd love someone to prove me wrong there in early castlage. And not to even mention the kind of transitions you can do to counter pikes as well, like forward siege, monks that also beat pikes every single time. Yeah, we could continue talking, Nili, if you want.
Okay, continue talking.
Yeah, so basically, pikes also takes a long time to get into. It's a heavy investment with the upgrade, and you might need to even invest into a second barracks, which doesn't really help with anything but spear and pike production. I can go on and on about why spears are just not the best option in early castlage.
Okay, then go on.
Yeah, I have went on and on for a while now, but I think I'd rather focus on other things like Kingston adding a second town center at the bottom. I've given more than enough points there, Nili, to feast on.
Okay, so Valas, it doesn't squeeze.
So at this point, we're going to go back to casting the game, but as you can see, Nili once again had a chance to rebuttal and bring a different idea to the table, but yet again chose to switch to a different overlay and show yet again the same face, attempting to ridicule what I was saying. But as you can see, I'm being completely serious about the arguments I was making. I brought forward a lot of logical statements saying forward siege, monks, transition, all can beat pikes and all kinds of things like running away, healing up your knights. Very logical arguments, something you'll see in a very very common 1v1 setting. But Nili made zero counter arguments, even though I said I'd love to be proven wrong or to have some, counter arguments thrown my way. He made zero attempt at doing any of that. Just once again ridiculed the statement or made that same face. Which once again, I really don't mind that kind of humor or sarcasm, but the fact that he made it a YouTube video, like if it's live, we all say stuff live and we make jokes on the fly. Can't expect everyone to be like perfect or anything like that. But to then like reanalyze the situation in the clip and then think it fitting to post a video of these clips, I'm not really sure what it accomplishes, and I'm not really sure that we're on the same page with with what's going on at the moment. And like I said, he made zero attempt to even rebuttal to the statement. And we're gonna go ahead and continue watching now.
Squeezed in there at the top. Or can he still go through? No, seems like not.
Man.
And yeah, Kingston, obviously with the weaker units, really struggling to find anything here. Now needs to invest into the very costly pikeman upgrade. I'm surprised that he isn't forced into a second barracks here.
So, making a couple of jabs at the statements I was making earlier, very costly, with some emphasis on the costly. I can probably take it as sarcasm, or maybe we don't assume, I don't know. But I'll just comment on it anyways. Pikeman upgrade is pretty costly. It costs 215 food, something like that, and 70 gold, I believe. So it's that's the cost of like 3 knights worth of resources, or like 3 monks worth of resources. So it is a pretty costly upgrade when you consider that if you get that upgrade, you don't have any units. You have to actually make the spearmen afterwards. But again, it's all been sarcasm up to now. A lot of knights from Valus here on the front. The monks will be a very effective counter. I do like that one. Monks, of course.
So monks counter knights?
Yeah, monks do counter knights. It's a very strong counter in early game.
Because they're so mobile, because they have the attack against buildings, and
no, not at all. Actually, I don't think you're paying attention, honestly. Yeah, you're not following the kind of arguments I'm putting forward here, Nili, unfortunately.
But I'm following your second YouTube channel.
That is true, which is better than Viper, which is nice. I do like that. Probably not a good fight. So in this clip, I probably don't have to even say anything. Like, obviously, he was still sticking with the same extreme sarcasm, humorous kind of narrative. And like I said, when I was listening to this live, I didn't think twice about it. I just kind of played off his humor and just tried my best to like make the situation seem as natural and as smooth as possible. Fight to take if you're Valus here, but
he has counter units, obviously.
He does have counter units. Yeah, the knights are countering the pikes right now, but you still have to pick the fight effectively. So notice how much we're skipping right now. The clip started when we're at like 8 minutes in Empire Wars, and now we're at 16 minutes in Empire Wars, which is like we're getting into like pretty late Castle Age. Both players are like 95, 85 pop. So this is no longer early Castle Age, which is where I initially made my point. But of course, because if you put these clips together and you edit it, it seems like only a short amount of time has passed, whereas we're looking at 8 minutes in-game time, and the situation is completely different to my initial statements. But of course, it's, I guess, this kind of deception that would make my statement look ridiculous when you put it in a YouTube video. Heal up all the knights, which is just so satisfying. I heard a stat, Nili, I don't know if you agree with it, but someone told me that monks healing knights is equivalent to 20 vils food gold. Which is, I don't know how correct that is, but the idea is you're getting a ton of value off healing up your knights with the monks. That's the big takeaway there.
The quote, monk healing knight is like 20 villagers food gold? That's a quote I've not heard before, no.
Yeah, I've heard that in my chat the other day, and I was quite surprised.
Great talk.
Yeah. I said I'm not sure, but yeah, it is a really crazy bonus to have. Kills your own pikeman now as Valus. I love that he's holding onto that hill, by the way, and he's mining the stone, so forward castle might be on the cards for him. So when it came to this portion, I was just mentioning something completely different and saying how a user in my chat had told me the statement, and I found it quite a bold statement. But because I don't immediately ridicule these statements and I like to look into them, I actually came to ask Nili here. I'm literally just asking him what he thought about that statement, because he used to be a former math teacher, so he definitely has more knowledge than me in math and kind of like just when it comes to anything like comparing two different values and the relative efficiency. And I was hoping he'd give some insight on how efficient monk healing is. This wasn't a statement I made it clear that it was someone from my chat. He dismissed it, and in this part, like, it is what it is. He never heard it before, didn't give any commentary. Fair enough. But this is a completely different topic and just one that was thrown into the video. But just want to clarify, that was not actually my idea. It's something I heard.
Famous quote.
Never said it was famous.
This is the first engagement, and now pikes tend to be pretty solid because you've got quite a few of them.
Notice my initial commentary. Now pikes tend to be pretty solid. We're at 20 minutes now. Look how much we've skipped. And this is no longer early Castle Age, but
Magano shots from Kingston. He goes 2 for 0 so far. Goes for the third, 3 for 0 on the Magano trades. What a fight for Kingston. That's as good as it gets, pretty much.
What? Pikes are countering knights? How is that even an option?
Or countering knights, believe it or not, Nili. But this is exactly what I said. In early Castle Age, pikes are losing. In late Castle Age, pikes are winning. It's just how it goes here.
More spearmen in production.
okay, so I just looped the video, but that was the end of the video. So despite, like, think of it, when that was a live commentary, there was like 10-minute span between the conversation and the ending there. And I constantly made it clear that my statement of knights countering pikes is a strictly early Castle Age thing, and it's not a late castle or late game kind of concept. But again, the conclusion that Nili took was that my statement was ridiculous, and oh my god, pikes are indeed countering knights because of that last fight. Well, the funniest part of this entire video is that Valus, the guy who was making knights, ended up winning the game shortly after this video ended. And so you can't even make the argument, if Nili really wants to ridicule me, you can't even make the argument that pikes were countering knights, because he lost the game despite being on pikes the entirety of Castle Age versus someone who was entirely on knights. I don't even believe that Valus made a transition. He stayed on Cavalier and ended up winning the game. So despite all the editing, despite trying to make me look ridiculous at every turn, Nili still ends up wrong in his own argument. But that's not even the whole point of the video for me. I don't care to make this like, you're wrong, I'm right kind of situation, because that's not what it's all about. For me, it's about a discussion, and it's about pushing the game forward, and it's about bringing people's passion out of the game, really going into these complex topics. That's what really motivates me. That's what I love to do. And for those who watch my videos, when do I ever say it depends? I always go into what it depends on, and I always try to elaborate, because like I said, I think that is really what brings out the best in people's understanding of Age of Empires. And throughout this entire clip that, again, was compiled and edited and thrown onto his YouTube channel, he made zero attempt to rebuttal to any of my points. He made zero attempt to bring a different perspective or to even say that I was wrong up front. He just implied that I was wrong, but not only that, implied that my statement was ridiculous. And I just want to conclude this video by saying I don't mind sarcastic humor, and I don't mind disagreement or being corrected. I actually love being corrected because it makes me go back and then think, and it actually makes me learn. But none of that actually happened in this video. Instead, I was hit with extremely sarcastic facial expressions, and it wasn't even just in a live stream. It was then edited and then thrown onto YouTube in a pretty deceiving manner to make me look as bad as possible, basically. And I do have a problem with that, because I base my channel and I base what I do on YouTube around coaching people and around like explaining the game in a more in-depth manner. And to have a clip of this that a casual viewer might encounter and just find what I'm saying completely ridiculous because of Nili's facial expressions, that really does bother me, and I feel like in a way that could potentially tarnish my reputation, even on a small scale. And I personally take that quite seriously. So I'll end this video by saying, I've been corrected and I've been given different perspective by people in comments on YouTube that are like way lower level than me, played the game for less than me, but just provided a different perspective, a different argument that made me think. So I don't think that it's about who's the best player and who can play the game better is always right. It's not what it's all about. I just love that we can all pitch in with different perspectives, and we can then find a common point that we can agree on is probably the most correct point, and we can then have a nice conclusion to a conversation. But when it comes to things like this, where I'm trying to like make a very bold statement and back it up on a live commentary, engage the audience, make it about like learning the game, and then to just see this be edited like this and like in this way, see the facial expressions, I don't know. It's pretty disheartening, and I would actually like to ask Nili that if you're so convinced that my statement was ridiculous, release a video with your own arguments and with your own stats, whatever game you want to provide, whatever evidence you want to provide, and make a claim to refute mine, and I'll gladly see what you have to offer and either accept it because I believe it to be true, or I'll then respond with my own claims, and then that's how a healthy conversation can be had. But as it stands right now, it's just a pretty weird attempt. I'm not even sure what Nili wants to gain out of this. Maybe he finds it funny, maybe not. But personally, I wasn't making a joke when it was live, and I don't see this as a joke either. And yeah, you guys can probably make your own judgment at this point. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys probably tomorrow with another video on my channel. Peace.